Hi, my name is Rock Santos, co-founder of Q Swimwear, and I'm a swimmer. We've created a swim brand by swimmers, for all swimmers. Even the swimmer that needs a new racing suit for every meet. Yeah, you know who you are. You and your parents spend all kinds of money on a new racing suit because it's stretched out every time you wear it. Not anymore. Q Swimwear has developed a racing suit that holds its compression and that lasts for over 50 swims. Q Swimwear, the answer for the swimmer that always needs a new racing suit.
Welcome to the Morning Swim Show for Wednesday, November 10th, 2010. I'm your host, Peter Bush. In the Finis Monitor today, we'll talk to Christine Jennings. She's one of the world's top open water swimmers right now, and she's been through a lot lately. She was in the same fateful race in Dubai where Fran Crippen lost his life, and Christine Jennings joins us right now in the Finis Monitor from Colorado Springs. Christine, welcome to the show. How you been?
I'm good. How have you?
I'm doing well, thanks. Tell me about how you've been handling the aftermath of that race and Fran passing away.
It's definitely been hard, and I know a lot of people have been going through the same stuff, and some worse than others. And I think last week I finally had to tell myself that I needed to get my act back in gear, and that's where Fran would have wanted me to be, and he would have wanted me to be working my butt off in practice. So that's my mindset right now.
Now, I understand you got pretty sick during the race as well and narrowly averted disaster.
Yeah. The conditions didn't play out very well for me. I was very disoriented. I didn't know what I was doing, and I was afraid I wasn't going to finish the race. So
you always have to think, hey, that could have been you.
Yeah, I did turn on my back. I did wave my hands. No one came to help me. I did end up being hospitalized along with Eva Fabian, and I just remember riding to the ambulance and holding hands the entire way because I was just so scared, and because we didn't know where Fran was at the time, and we were kind of it was just really freaky.
So how did you find out about Fran?
They told us a half hour after, well, we kind of heard him arrive at the hospital, and we weren't sure if it was him, but they weren't telling us anything. And the coaches didn't want to tell us because we were still trying to recover ourselves, and they ended up telling us probably a half hour after he arrived at the hospital.
What's the lesson going forward for open water races as the swimmer, who's actually in the pool, not a FINA official? I mean, what do they need to do to make sure you guys are protected, or is just the fact of the matter, hey, you guys are swimming in the middle of an open body of water and there's times when you might not be seen?
I think a lot of small things throughout the entire system, just kind of people weren't checking off on the right things, and it ended up in a disaster. And I think there needs to be more precautions. And for example, I want to ask, what's the checklist? What allowed them to keep continuing on with this race? As an athlete, I was probably too worried at the task at hand to be worrying about I might not finish this race or it might be dangerous. I leave that up to the officials. I leave that up to the safety person. And there's a guidance according to FINA on what they have to check off. And I'm kind of curious to know what that is. I looked at the FINA rules and I couldn't find anything.
All right. So as you're planning future races and you're looking at specifics of each place that you're considering racing in, what is going to be the limit for you on water temperature or for safety procedures? I mean, do you look at it and say, okay, anything above 80 degrees, I'm just not going in, or what's the level for you?
I would say probably my limit, I would have to choose probably about 86, 85, probably nothing higher than that. I think that's when it can start to become dangerous. As for safety, I would I'm not saying that you have to have one person per swimmer ratio of lifeguards to swimmers. I'm saying you have to have enough eyes covering all the swimmers and enough people out there looking for danger and not just ignoring it.
Now, as a distance swimmer, I'm sure you've had some brutal training sessions or races where, you're feeling lightheaded and not feeling the greatest. But had you ever felt something quite like that?
No, I've never been so scared in my entire life in that race. And I don't remember finishing that race. I look back and it was definitely something supernatural, definitely God that saved me and got me out of that race because I was so scared and I don't remember doing anything.
So how do you combine taking, what you think Fran would want you to do, like you said, putting it behind you, turning it into motivation perhaps, but making sure that, next time your body, feels like it's at its limit, that there's a check, is there not, for an athlete between, hey, you're taught to push through pain, but knowing when you're at your limit?
I think all athletes, even in my case, I will push through it, and sometimes the coaches have had to tell me to stop because I keep pushing through. And I'm that type of person, and I'm in that race, and there was a point where I could have kept on trying to stay with the lead pack after they picked up the pace, and something inside me was just like, stop, you need to stop. And I was like, I don't want to. And finally that went over and I stopped and I went slower to finish the race. But I'm glad something like my conscience was just like, stop.
Well, we're glad your conscience did that. It's tough enough what the swimming community's going through with losing Fran, but obviously your case illustrates it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah.
Well, Christine, I know you're training at Mission Viejo, and you guys are on a pretty brutal training session right now in Colorado Springs, correct?
Yeah, well, we're just finishing up, actually. Tonight's the last practice.
So what was today's practice like? Give an idea of what it was like on deck.
It was a pretty good atmosphere. Everyone was doing really well. It's great to be around people right now and be training with people. Like Chloe's having a great training session and I never trained with Ose. He won the 1500 at Beijing, I think. And so seeing him train is just really incredible, and it's been helping motivate me.
What was the out of the entire training camp, what was a workout or a specific time that someone went in a workout that had the pool buzzing?
I don't know.
Nothing comes to mind?
No, not really. I think we've all been very consistent and been doing really well.
Well, I know you've been on a roll lately. You won Pan Pacs. You just won the Tiburon Mile. And as a matter of fact, the $10,000 prize money from the Tiburon Mile, I think we heard you were going to give it to your brother because he's got a lot of school bills piling up.
Yeah, for graduate school.
And where's he go?
Clemson University down in South Carolina.
Did you just hand him the big cardboard check, or did you actually make out a paper one?
We're making out a paper one.
Well, you are quite the good sister.
Yeah, it was my first initial idea when I got the money, and I just was like, well, he's struggling, the money can go to him now, and then whenever I decide to go back to graduate school, he can help me.
Or he can just get you a really nice Christmas present.
Yeah.
Well, Christine, thanks a lot for joining us. So sorry for what you've been through, but we're glad you're here.
Thank you for having me on.
All right, that's Christine Jennings joining us from Colorado Springs. That's it for today's show. I'm Peter Bush, reminding you to keep your head down at the finish.